Student the other day asked me about vibrato. You can look all this up, of course. My understanding is that vibrato is a fluctuation in pitch, usually above and below the note. It should be this. Ah, if there's my note there. Ah, slow it down. Ah, so you get the sense of the note, hopefully, being accurate in the middle. It can disguise tuning issues. Another type of vibrato, which isn't actually vibrato, what am I going to call it? I'll call it breath vibrato, though it's not vibrato, it's amplitude, in other words, volume on the breath, which is this. Maybe the Bee Gees are known for that. So you can maybe hear that that's a pulsing of the breath, it's not the pitch fluctuation. You can do the two together. So let me demonstrate a few. So vibrato, well, I use it a bit old school. Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, Vic Damone, and then people, they would hit the note, off, and then the vibrato would come in, which kind of opens up the note. It was traditionally used that way, it seems to me, not in from the beginning, but would come in later, so it sort of pins you a bit with that note, and then it releases. So it can be used artistically that way. Personally, yeah, that's why I kind of learnt to use it. It's difficult for me to remember. But these days I use it all over the place and in different ways, and I quite like having it in, taking it back out so it goes back to that, and then bring it back again. I'll talk about that later. Straight then. If I do this, here's just a straight note. So it has a bit of a, it's okay, it had a bit of a dead sound after a while. I think, is that an instrument, or is that synth, or is that whatever? It's just sort of a bit, and that's it. So give a bit of movement then. I'm going to, halfway through, allow my normal vibrato in. Notice that after I let it in, I took it out again. That's something I've gotten to doing, because I get tired of that, having the vibrato. But you can see what happens, it comes in halfway through. Let me see if I can do the amplitude one, which remember is, it's easier lower down actually, or in falsetto. Lower down. When you've got that much pressure going, it's a little bit tricky to but it can be done, I think. Puts my playing off, but you could hear what was going on there because I having to concentrate so hard now I lost the groove there. But you can hear that going on. That's quite a physical thing because you're under so much pressure anyway. So this one, see if I can do the two together, or add a little bit of that breath one in there as the vibrato comes in as well. In amongst them together, it gives a little bit of a sort of which I'm playing with. Woo! Alright, one thing, yeah, so what I would do then with the coming, so if I just didn't do what I'd say, I'd hold that note for a while. I'm just going to mess around with it because I just want to think, what am I going to do here? Paint something and see what I can paint. So I might bring the vibrato in and out, bring the breath one in and out, just so the note's got a little, it's ever changing really a bit after that bit, and then bring it back to that bit where I'm just saying, again, and then move on again, maybe. So when you get to each, take the vibrato back out, it's like, back on you. That's what it feels like to me though. Maybe it doesn't feel the same to you. Well, that's about it. Anything else I can think of? I've got a couple of notes here just about, oh yeah. Read your notes. This is vibrato. See, if I do a vibrato, it just goes under. I don't know if anybody does this, but I'll just mention it. I can do hit the note and just go under. So we get this. So it tends to make it sound flat. So I've got the note and the vibrato is only under. If I do the vibrato only over. So obviously the midway between, I've got the note and then the upper note with the vibrato, and the midway between the note is what you're perceiving as being the pitch, so a little bit sharp. So that's not something I'm recommending, but it might be something you're doing, possibly, if you find you're with the vibrato in the sort of pitch isn't there. Slow vibrato, low and wide, some people call it a wobble. All a bit too much. So that can be a case, and the other one can be, if it's too quick, nothing is too anything really, it's just up to you. But traditionally they'd find a quick vibrato, they'd call it a bleat, as in a sheep. So I can't do that, my muscularity doesn't seem to want to do that kind of thing, but I figured to go, no, what I was trying to do, notice what I was doing then? Not much use that, is it? But that was opening and closing the larynx to some extent, constricting and unconstricting. But that's not what it is. So some people can go very quickly, and they call it a bit of a bleat. It's more of a kind of, perhaps a nervous, who knows, kind of thing it is. So anyway, whatever, do whatever you want, if you don't harm other people. Now, this one isn't very common, which is, how can I get rid of vibrato? I usually get asked how they can get it. And I noticed that my Brazilian brothers and sisters tend not to use vibrato, or didn't anyway, for all the stuff I listened to back in the day, Anton and all those people, and I listened to the Brazilians, wonderfully musical people. Their singing was very, they didn't hear vibrato. Astrid Gilberto, if you check their early stuff out, there's no vibrato, very little vibrato. It's interesting, quite straight. If you want to rid yourself of vibrato, what's the thought for me to do that? Very difficult to explain, but it feels like I'm trying to avoid getting to any sort of tension, because it's not exactly tension. So I want to be careful what I say, because I don't want people doing stuff which isn't good. So that one I'm going to put, I think, to one side, if you don't mind. I have to explore as it feels. All I can say is it feels like, if it's moving, it feels like this, that I'm sort of grounding it a bit and not letting that, and I've got a bit more of a sense of that through it, not allowing that fluctuation. That's what it feels like. I have to experiment with that and maybe work with the teacher, but that's, as I say, very rarely asked that. More of the question is, how can I get it? One way you can get it, I'd say, is simply by altering the pitch, because you're going to go, see if you can start off by doing it deliberately, and see if you can just work your way into it becoming a natural fluctuation. The best I can say, Sam, who I work for, a city vocal coach, said he sometimes says, do this. And he says that sometimes, somehow or other, maybe because you're distracted, some people do say that the vibrato occurs naturally if you're relaxed. That's what I've read. I just don't know. What can I say? I can't remember where mine came from. Mine was just from coughing, and I think Sam said as well. I think coughing is a very powerful thing, and maybe that's why the Brazilians that I've heard don't have vibrato, because they've been copying obviously the people around them who don't use vibrato. So yeah, but if you're really stuck, then I think that having that flexibility to be able to do that is not going to be a bad thing anyway. Just to see if you can hit that note and vary it, because you might find it quite useful. What can I do? Can I do anything else? That's about it, really. I'm just going to do something. Adios.